Hey guys, it's Chelsea from Little Mountain Ranch. I'm feeling super positive right now because I managed to edit and upload a video that I filmed 3 weeks ago last night, and now I'm outside with the camera again filming another video. So hopefully I'm going to have up 2 videos for you guys this week, which is definitely an improvement over the huge gaps I've had between my uploads recently. So what do I want to talk to you about today? I want to talk to you about my greenhouse and talk a little bit about how it worked for me this summer, the amount of produce I was able to pull out of my greenhouse, what my plans are for it for the winter, and things that I will be doing a little bit differently next season. As you can see, we were having the most gorgeous weather. It has been sunny and warm and beautiful for the last couple of days, which is a welcome change over the smoke that we were having for what seemed like the entire summer. It really was only about 3 or 4 weeks, but too long for sure. The good news is that it's cooled off enough and we've had a lot of rain, which has helped to put out the majority of the fires, or at least get them to the point where the firefighters have them totally under control. Most of my friends that were evacuated have been able to go back home again, so that is super positive. Okay, so the greenhouse. If you look back, I'm going to link some videos below in the description box for you that show the greenhouse build from last summer. Last summer I did plant in it, but everything that I planted in it ended up dying because we were evacuated for most of the summer. So this was my first official summer growing in my greenhouse, and I cannot tell you how happy I am with the way that it grew and the amount of produce I got out of it. I didn't keep track over the summer how many tomatoes that I pulled out of the greenhouse as we sort of ate them, but it was a lot. And the 3 cucumber plants that I planted in the corner of my greenhouse, we managed to get at least 50 cucumbers off of those plants. We got cucumbers off those plants weeks and weeks and weeks before we started getting cucumbers outside, and these cucumbers were more like the giant hothouse cucumbers that you get from the grocery store than my little tiny ones that I was getting outside. That's awesome. I'm definitely going to plant a few more cucumber plants in the greenhouse next year. The tomatoes did quite well. We ended up getting quite a few ripe tomatoes throughout the season. In the last couple of days, I pulled out the last of the tomatoes and I got almost 50 pounds of tomatoes out of the greenhouse. Now, most of those tomatoes were green. I canned a green tomato chutney, which is absolutely delicious. I'll put a link to where I got that recipe in the description box below in case you end up getting a bunch of extra green tomatoes like I did. It's really, really good, and all the kids really enjoyed it too, which is a bonus. I'm gonna let some of them ripen, but I don't have enough counter space to allow for, I think it's probably a 30-pound box of green tomatoes ripen on my counter. So I'm gonna have to come up with some more creative ways to deal with green tomatoes. We're gonna try to fry green tomatoes, which I have never had before. And so that'll actually use up quite a few of the tomatoes with a family of our size. My plan for the greenhouse now that I have, that all of the actual fruit is out of it, is today I'm gonna clean out all of the old vines, and then my turkeys are currently free ranging in my garden now that the majority of the produce is now out of my garden. I'm going to turn this into a place for them to be able to be until it comes time for processing, probably in November. I got my turkeys a little bit late this year, so I generally process turkeys in October, but this time it'll be in November. They have been out in the chicken tractors out on the hayfield for the majority of the summer. Now that the garden has mostly been harvested, I'm letting them into the garden to clean up what is left here, and then using the greenhouse as a warm place for them to have for shelter in the colder months. Once we get this all cleaned out, I'll talk to you a little bit about my plans for the upcoming gardening season and some of the things that I'm going to be doing differently as far as the greenhouse goes. Behind me here, all of these flowers, those are broccoli flowers, and I leave most of the side shoots, not all of them, but a lot of the side shoots I leave for the bees because we don't have a lot of forage for them this time of year. But broccoli being a cold hardy plant, these guys can actually withstand quite a lot of frost. And I'm gonna show you, but there are literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bees on this little tiny row back here. It adds such a nice bright splash of color too for this time of year when most of the other flowers are all dead. So I love it. I don't know if you can hear with all the background noise, but it's just buzzing, it's humming. And lots of my honeybees are in here too. I have harvested most of my honey off my hives, but I haven't had a chance to extract it yet, so I'll make sure I take you along with me when I do that. I have an antique extractor, it's like a hand crank extractor that I use. So I think we have about 7 or 8 full supers of honey to actually do the extraction on, so I'll be sure to bring you along with me when I do that. Rabbit children. Where are you? Where are you? I can't even see you in there. There's your hand. What are you doing in there? It's a kale forest, isn't it? Look at all this kale.
I'm a bunny.
You guys are gonna have to help me harvest this kale in the next few days, hey?
Yeah. I'll help you eat it.
Okay.
And bees trying to make a beehive in here.
So my thinking behind using this space for the turkeys is, one, it gives them more adequate shelter than they have with the chicken tractors and more protection from, in particular, the wind. And also it keeps them out of my main chicken coop with my laying hens, because they produce a ton of manure and make a big, huge old mess. And so I don't want them in with the laying hens. I just have to go on a hunt to try to find a board. What I want to do here is put across here, I want to put a perch for the turkeys to be able to perch up on. And as you can see, there's already, chickens have already found it in there. Let's go find those turkeys. Oh, there they are. These are our chicken tractors here. So as you can see, outside of the really warm months, these aren't really gonna work for winter because they just provide shelter from sun and from a little bit of rain. And there's one of my other ones down there. These guys are much happier to be out free ranging. So those guys are my Welsh Harlequin ducks, and they really have no other purpose to me besides bringing me joy, because I love watching them waddle around and quack, and they're just such a beautiful breed of duck. There are 2 hens, so we will end up getting some eggs, but their biggest purpose is just to bring us a smile when we come out into the farmyard. Turkeys are among my favorite farm animal. I don't know why, they're just so sweet. Well, let's be honest, I really love all farm animals, but I do love me some turkeys. As far as what I am planning on doing differently next year is, if you remember back, I started my seeds in this greenhouse in, I think it was the beginning of March. And that was pretty cold for this little greenhouse. I did have a plug-in heater. So I built a little mini greenhouse inside of this greenhouse and put a little heater inside of there. And that worked really well for the cold crops, but for the tomatoes and the okra and what else was there, I can't remember what else there was, it didn't do so well. So my plan is to start the plants that need the extra heat inside and to continue to do the cool plants outside. And what I'm gonna do to try to help, now there's snowmobiles going in the background. My 14-year-old son, Liam, is really into restoring old snowmobiles. So he's restoring a 1973 Skidoo Elan right now. So that's what you're gonna hear in the background because he's trying to get the engine going. Anyway, so I'm going to along the north side of this greenhouse. So this one side on this side, this is south facing, and then north facing on this side is I'm going to stack hay bales up around the north side of this greenhouse just to afford it a little bit more protection from the cold. What I might do is build the little mini greenhouse kind of inside of here again. The only thing I don't like about doing that is I'm using extra plastic and then poking holes in it with the stapler, so it's not really usable again, and blah, blah, blah. So I'm still working on this plan. I might try doing one of those hotbeds, basically creating like a compost heap inside of the greenhouse to produce extra heat. The only thing I'm thinking about that for a greenhouse of this size is that it's gonna create a lot of mess that I'm gonna end up having to haul out of here. So what my bigger plan is I want to get a much larger greenhouse. So either a either a larger solid greenhouse like this one, or just a hoop house style greenhouse. And the reason that I want to do that is because I order in a large amount of tomatoes, usually 400 or 500 pounds of tomatoes. That's what I did this year from a farm that's about 3 hours south of us. And I usually get a pretty good price, but it's still the travel and it's still the extra cost. So over the long run, with the amount of tomatoes I have to do, it might be more cost effective for us to put in a greenhouse. Plus, we like the idea of producing our own food. And so that's something that we're really seriously considering. One of the biggest projects that we are going to be working on over the winter to sort of fine tune our plans for is our all-season greenhouse off the south side of our house. So Bert, I'll be getting in touch with you again really soon to start working through those plans. Bert, the old guy Bert who leaves comments in my comment section down below, he's been helping us with planning an all-season greenhouse. So that's sort of the big project that we're going to be working on, but it requires a lot of timber. So one of the things that we're looking at doing is investing in a sawmill. We're shopping around, trying to find a really good deal. We always buy used. It's just something that my husband is a heavy duty mechanic, so he has the skills to be able to fix pretty much anything. And so that's something that we're hoping to do in the next little while. Okay, so I just have one more board to put on for the perch, and then it's time to bring the turkeys in and see what they think. So I'm not going to be able to finish up this project entirely right now because I need to head in the house and get supper going for the family. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you again in the not too distant future. Bye guys!